Hare Krishna Divine Grace, HG Garuda Govinda, Sri Prabhupada, HG Garuda Govinda, Krishna, Shri Gauritai Ki, Gaura Premanandi, Glorious Assembly, so glorious to you and Shri Gaura. Yodanam Lakshya. Nikitam Sita Govasham Sharayan Anugan Gopam Ranatenu Ariramat Saiva Godam Lakshmya Nikitam Sita Govasham Visham Sharayana Nagandakam Pranadenu Arirama Saiva Godhanam Lakshmya Nikitam Sita Govasham Sharayana Nagandakam Pranadenu Arirama Sa He, Lord Krishna, Eva, certainly, Godhanam, the treasure of cows, Lakshma, by opulence, Nikitam, reservoir, Sitagovasham, beautiful cows and bulls, Charayan, herding, Anugan, the followers, Gopan, cowherd boys, Ranat, blowing, Venu, flute, Aniramat, enlivened. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, C.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: while herding the very beautiful bulls, the Lord, who was the reservoir of all opulence and fortune, used to blow his flute, and thus he enlivened his faithful followers, the cowherd boys. Thought. As he grew to 6 and 7 years old, the Lord was given charge of looking after the cows and bulls in the grazing grounds. He was the son of a well-to-do landholder who owned hundreds and thousands of cows, and according to Vedic economics, one is considered to be a very rich man by the strength of his store of grains and cows. With only these two things, cows and grains, humanity can solve its eating problem. Human society needs only sufficient grain and sufficient cows to solve its economic problem. All other things but these two are artificial necessities created by man to kill his valuable life at the human level and waste his time in things which are not needed. Lord Krishna, as the teacher of human society, personally showed by his acts that the mercantile community, or the Vaishyas, should herd cows and bulls, and thus give protection to the valuable animals. According to the Shmiti regulation, the cow is the mother and the bull the father of the human being. The cow is the mother because just as one sucks the breast of one's mother, human society takes cow's milk. Similarly, the bull is the father of human society because the father earns for the children, just as the bull tills the ground to produce food grains. Human society will kill its spirit of life by killing the father and mother. It is mentioned herein that the beautiful cows and bulls were of various checkered colours, red, black, green, yellow, ash, etc. And because of their colours and healthy, smiling features, the atmosphere was enlivened. Over and above all, the Lord used to play his celebrated flute. The sound vibration of his flute would give his friends such transcendental pleasure that they would forget all the talks of the Brahmananda, which is so praised by the impersonalists. These Garo boys, as will be explained by Sukadeva Goswami, were living entities who had accumulated heaps of pious acts and thus were enjoying with the Lord in person and were hearing his transcendental flute. The Brahma Samhita confirms the Lord blowing his transcendental flute. Brahmaji said, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who plays on his transcendental flute. His eyes are like lotus flowers. He is decorated with peacock plumes, and his bodily colour resembles a fresh black cloud, although his bodily features are more beautiful than millions of cupids. These are the special features of the Lord. Om Makyan Timarandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chakchalamritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. This is a very nice verse talking about Krishna as the cowherd boy. We know that the cow protection is at the very core of our Vedic culture. In the Bhagavad Gita it says, there's a nice verse here that it describes how a person is considered very advanced when he regards the honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral meditators, the envious, the friends, even the enemies, all with an equal mind. So this is the position of the you could say the advanced stage of yoga, where the yogi or devotee is equal to one and all, to his family, to his friends, and also not just the humans, but also to the animals, the cows, the birds, the fish. Even it is said that a devotee is very careful not even to stand on the ant. And even his enemies he sees with an equal mind. You know, in our modern world today, we see people are screaming out for social equality. But the question that comes up in the modern world, or in our Vedic philosophy, is social equality possible on the material platform? So we see that this Bhakti Yoga philosophy, it supplies us with this scientific basis of understanding how in essence we are all equal. Because we're all eternal souls. We're part and parcel of Krishna. So in the eyes of the Supreme Lord, everyone is equal. And so also in the eyes of a truly learned person, everyone is equal. So this Bhagavad Gita, it explains this. It teaches us this fact that equal vision or to see all living entities equal is not just some mere bodily sentiment based on some, you could say, man-made universal declaration. We see these declarations, they're coming out, the Australian Constitution, the United Nations, so many leaders of the world are making these universal declarations describing how, you know, we are all living together as one family, we are all one nation, we are all friends, we are all equal. But we can see it's not really working. It's simply high-sounding words. That no one is, there's no real universal brotherhood going on in the world. There's so many differences, so much discrimination between races, between genders, between countries, between leaders. And also, we learn in Bhagavad Gita that equal vision is not just based on some concocted philosophy proclaiming that everyone is God. I am God, you're God. It's a very democratic idea. We can all be God together. You God, I'm God. But Krishna quite clearly says in the Bhagavad Gita that we're not all God. That no one is equal to and no one is greater than God. God means the supreme controller of all living entities. So I don't think anyone can make that claim. So in the Bhagavad Gita we learn that real knowledge begins with understanding who am I, who is God, and what is my relationship with Him. By understanding this, we'll understand how every living entity has an eternal spiritual identity beyond this body and mind. That anyone is an eternal soul, an infinitesimal part of the Supreme Lord, and has an eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, and also is very dear to Him. So in this way, everyone should be respected on the worldly plane, and everyone should be respected on the spiritual platform as an eternal loving servant of the Supreme Lord. And this includes all living entities: humans, animals, birds, fish, ants, trees, bees. You know, in the modern world, there are very strong laws against cruelty to pets. Yet mankind is willing to send something like 60 billion innocent creatures to be slaughtered every year without any thought. Where's the equality? Because people like the taste of meat. 60 million innocent creatures are slaughtered every year. People don't even think about it. Yet they have these really strong laws against cruelty to pets. So in our Bhakti culture, Bhakti Yoga culture, we learn how cow protection is at the heart of pleasing Krishna. How cows are completely innocent and dependent on humans, and they must feel protected and valued. And we understand this. If cows feel protected and valued, then the cows and bulls, they'll be happy. And if they're happy, Krishna will be happy. So we see this. Prabhupada brings us up in this verse. Basically, everything about the cow is simply blessing society. That the Vedic culture, the mother and father of society, are actually symbolized by the cow and bull, as Prabhupada mentions here. You know, actually there's a lot of people in the world were wondering, why do people in India worship the cow? You know, because in most parts of the world they just eat the cows. Why do people worship the cows? And actually there was a whole team of surveyors who went to India to try and figure it out, this reason why people worship cows. And they made this statement that if India doesn't eat the cows, start eating the cows will eat India. I know, it's crazy. So they went there to check it out, and they found, what they found was just amazing, because, you know, there's something like just 10 or so million bullock carts. You know, bullock carts, the carts that are pulled by the bulls, that are bringing all the produce to the market, you know, transporting this and that here and there. They're driving the big irrigation systems, the bulls are ploughing the fields, and the cows are giving the milk, and they make the butter and the cheese and the yogurt. And even we see the cow dung. used for fertilizer, for cooking fuel, so many things. So what happened is they actually realized that actually the cow and bull are India's most natural, vital resource. And Prabhupada mentioned this, it comes up quite a lot in the philosophy, how we can live simply and depend on the cows, depend on the land. Of course, in the West here, we're not so advanced in this understanding. In some countries of the world where even devotees are used to living a more agrarian way of life, living on the land in the simple villages, just like in Ecuador and South America and in certain parts of India, also in Europe. People are used to living that village life, and even the devotees, they can establish farming communities. They're becoming more self-sufficient, just depending on what they can produce on the land and the cows. And I know I can speak for myself. We're not used to living like that. We're just used to going down to Coles and getting all our stuff. It's kind of easy, but we've never really worked out. Like you see Lagudi. When Lagudi, he was brought up in a village in Croatia, I think Croatia, yeah. And when he was 4 years old, he was out there with the hoe. He didn't go to school. He was just out there with the hoe, tilling the soil, growing the veggies. So it's there's actually one other devotee, he lives in Canberra, and he was from a village in France. And he was telling us how in winter, the family, they had these cellars and they get all the produce. They cook the apples and they put them in these clay pots and they store them under the ground for the winter, get them through the winter, and they collect all this food and produce for the cows. So we see that Krishna, there's Prabhupada was talk about this, make Vrindavan village. And we see this in Krishna, in Vrindavan, this is how they lived, a simple life. And I know when you go to Mayapur, for instance, if you go on the Navadvip Parikram, it's like a 9-day parikram, and you go through the different islands of Navadvip. Just before the Mayapur festival, they have this parikram, and you're walking through all the villages, and you see just people just living so simple. And you think, wow, people were just living like this, probably the same as what they were living when Lord Chaitanya came through here 500 years ago. They're living in a little village, and they had their little crops out there, and they had their cows, and they just had their little mud huts, and they're just living there. So the idea is, by living simply, Prabhupada said, you can save time, for self-realization, for spiritual practices. Not that, there's actually a saying, there's too many people spending money they haven't earned to buy things they don't really need, to impress people they don't really like. And we see that. People take out huge loans, and which bind the husband and wife to work hard for the major part of their life, to live this, it's almost an artificial standard of living. And you see that on the side of the road, people, they are just hoarding and buying so much stuff, that they can't even store it. They have to have these, garage sales to try and get rid of some so they can get more. So in Vrindavan village, yes, when Krishna entered boyhood, we see 4 to 6 year old. What happened actually, when Krishna moved to Vrindavan, he developed this desire to herd the cows. He was just a young boy, 3 or 4 years old. So his father used to take him out with him when he used to go out herding the cows. Now, when Mother Yasoda heard that, she was so angry. Out of motherly affection, she said, it's such a dangerous place out there in the forest. How can you take little Krishna out there? It's not safe. She scolded her husband, Manda, taking Krishna out there. So they had a meeting, and they decided that Krishna and Balaram should just herd the calves, little baby calves, just in the immediate vicinity of the village. So to herd the calves, they had a special initiation into calf herding. And they were given, by the village guru or priest. And they were given ropes and sticks and flutes and horns. And they took charge of herding the young calves just around the village. And there's nice stories there. How they used to catch hold of the calves' tails and get dragged through the mud. And But when Krishna turned 6 years old, he and Balaram initiated into cow herding. They became qualified cowherd boys. And of course that day is celebrated as Gopastami. So we see that. In Goloka Vrindavan, which is full of cows and forests and tulsi trees and pure devotees, Krishna just relishes the most intimate exchange of love with his friends and family amidst this simple surrounding of this rural farming community of Vrindavan. And we see Krishna's brother Balaram, he carries a plough, which represents agriculture. Krishna carries a flute for calling the cows. So these two transcendental brothers, they represent agriculture and cow protection. And we know Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's father, he has 900,000 cows. Just imagine that. 900,000 cows. And every cow has a name. And Krishna knows the name of every single cow. So he would call them. He would call their name for milking. And they would respond by mewing, moo, when they hear their name being called by Krishna. And as the cows come into the cowherd shed, they would lovingly just surround Krishna. And Krishna would just hug the cows and lovingly caress them. Krishna just loves those cows as much as they love him. And then they would milk the cows. And they have a cow shed, amazing cow shed actually. It's not like our cow shed, although we have a nice cow shed. But in Vrindavan, the cow shed has got like golden pillars and emerald roof beams and gold-studded, walls with rubies, and it's just a very opulent cow shed. And they would milk the cows into golden pails, pure golden buckets. Imagine that, pure golden buckets. And they'd be just laughing and joking, and of course after milking the cows, Krishna and Balaram would go home and bathe, and then they would proceed to Nanda Maharaj's royal dining hall. And they'd enjoy this big, beautiful breakfast feast cooked by Srimati Radharani. Then after breakfast they would take the cows out to graze in the pasturing grounds around Govardhana, and they would play their flutes and bugles and dance and sing and wrestle and, dive into the lakes and swim and joke with each other, play various games and sports, catch ball with various fruits, enjoy tasty snacks, fruits and sweets. In this way, Krishna and Balaram and his friends, they just enjoyed this just soothing atmosphere of Vrindavan. Then, of course, in the afternoon, Krishna would dress in new clothes. Then he would go to this special place, Kir Kadamba, and he would sit in a Kadamba tree, and then he'd play his flute and call the cows home. And you know, it is said that if any cow was missing out of those 900,000 cows, Krishna would lovingly chase after her and find her, you know, calling her name. You know, just Krishna just loves these cows as much as they love him. There's one story that when the cows heard that Krishna had taken a vow that he was going to go barefoot as he traversed around Vrindavan, that night, all the cows and bulls, they went out into the pasturing ground, and with their iron-like hooves, they smashed all the rocks and stones and pebbles into very fine powdery dust for Krishna to walk on, because they didn't want him to hurt his feet, you know, by standing on the pebbles and stones. I always remember that story, especially when you go to Govardhan. There's some parts of Govardhan, there's this fine powdery dust. It's beautiful. So, you know, Krishna's teaching us by serving the cows, one receives tremendous spiritual benefit. And Krishna, he declares that I can be personally worshipped within the cows by offerings of grass and other grains and paraphernalia for the pleasure and health of the cows. And of course, and also the Vedic literatures, they state just upon seeing a cow, if you see a cow, you should go up to her, give her a gentle scratch, offer her a mouthful of nice, tasty grass, and then reverentially circumambulate her. And if you do this, Gopal will be very pleased. Because we've got a lot of cows here. I mean, you might spend the whole day just doing that, but at least you could do it to one cow. So we see this in genuine schools of yoga. They encourage their students to follow certain ethical principles, disciplines, in order to elevate their consciousness and make rapid spiritual advancement. So one of these principles we see is ahimsa, non-violence, to cause no harm to any living being. So this is the prime reason why yogis are vegetarians. You know, they said the more we honour and respect and show compassion to all living entities, the more we actually connect to our own inner spiritual nature. And also the more we'll be protected from accruing bad karma, negative karma. You know, there's so much heavy karma attached to eating meat. And, you know, they said that there's 6 people responsible for the killing of a cow. Isn't it? There's the person that kills it, the person that assists the killing, the person that transports it, the person that sells it, the person that cooks it, the person that eats it. They share in this very horrendous karma of killing cows. It's such a sinful, demoniac activity. Yet people they don't even think about it. Sometimes I tell that story, you know, I've been trying to get my mother to become a vegetarian for the last 40 years. You know. And she says, everyone eats meat. You know, we can't stop. Everyone eats, you know. Why should we eat meat? Everyone eats it. People are it's just this cultural conditioning. People like sheep. Actually, you know, when I was working at Govinda's, I was taking her so much prasadam. She said, don't bring me so much. I'm becoming a vegetarian. And people are very naive. So, yes, talking about Krishna is playing his flute. You know, remembering Krishna, actually in the Bhagavad Gita there's a nice sloka there. One who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path. he is sure to reach me. So we see that practically all the different practices we perform in Bhakti Yoga, all the different little services we do, the chanting, eating prasadam, reading the scriptures, coming to the temple, serving the deities, are all designed to help us always remember Krishna and never forget him. And remembering Krishna is such a powerful practice that it's said that it can even empower us to conquer our conditioned nature. You know, we all have different strengths, we have different weaknesses, we have different attachments, misgivings and shortcomings. However, it is said that we can conquer our limitations by the mercy of Krishna, by always remembering him. And and there's so many different wonderful ways that we can remember Krishna, and these different pastimes, and these beautiful forms and qualities, and these different relationships with these different devotees. But this remembering Krishna, it takes constant practice. And also determination to remain fixed on the devotional path. You know, sometimes it comes that we're just, instead of thinking about Krishna, we're just thinking about ourselves, thinking about me. You know, what we're doing, how we're feeling, you know, what we're going to do in the future, making all our plans and schemes, and thinking about our health and what we're going to eat today and how we're going to meet this person. And we just have a tendency to put ourselves in the center. But in Bhakti Yoga, we're learning that we've got to try and put Krishna in the center of our lives and try and always remember him. And, you know, just by, you know, it tells us in the Bhagavad Gita, you know, that a first-class yogi or devotee, one who always remembers Krishna and never forgets him. This is considered the topmost perfectional stage of all meditation. Just to absorb the mind and intelligence in remembering Krishna in so many ways. So this linking to the Supreme Lord through remembrance, it's a great devotional art, and it can be achieved through this Bhakti Yoga process, beginning with hearing and chanting. If we simply open our hearts and sincerely chant this Hare Krishna mantra, it is said that our consciousness will become purified, our love for Krishna will become fully awakened. Then what happens is this beautiful form of Krishna will naturally manifest itself in our heart. And then it will be very easy to remember Krishna and never forget him. So this chanting, so important. And this is mentioned in so many different... So we see that, as mentioned in this verse here. Now in those forests of Vrindavan, Krishna plays his transcendental flute. And that fascinatingly beautiful sound, it just spreads in all directions and simply captivates the heart of one and all. Every living entity that hears that flute sound becomes enchanted by that sound. And out of intense love for Krishna, they simply become absorbed in just remembering Krishna. His transcendental beautiful form, glorious pastimes, his sweetness of love. It is said that when Krishna plays his flute, even the trees and creepers, they respond by suddenly becoming luxuriant and beautiful. You know, the fruits just start coming out on the trees, and the flowers just start sprouting out of the trees in abundance. The rivers, even the rivers become perturbed. They stop flowing. Said actually even when they hear Krishna's flute, the river Jamuna starts flowing backwards. The birds in the trees, they simply close their eyes and meditate on that transcendental sound of Krishna's flute. And the cows, with upraised ears, they stand motionless, drinking the nectar of the flute song. And even the little calves, you know the calves, when you see them drinking the milk from the mother, they're so like ecstatic. But what happens is they're so anxious for that milk, but when they hear Krishna's flute, they become so choked up with love for Krishna that they can't drink the milk. And there's tears. It said that the calves, they struck with devotion, shed tears of love for Krishna. Yes. Sometimes when I'm driving down the road, I see all the cows there and the cars, I yell out from my car, Govinda! You see the cows. I think they know Govinda. It said that Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, they break their deep meditation, they simply become lost in thought of their beloved Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada mentions that similarly, when we hear the sound of Krishna's holy name, we immediately become captured by Krishna. And our minds become attracted to everything about him. So these bhakti scriptures, they proclaim that this devotional chanting is the prime benediction for all humanity, because more than any other process, this chanting has the power to awaken the soul's dormant love for Krishna. So this is the prime benediction, and it's by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that we can have this chanting. Otherwise we can't have it. He made the impossible possible. Actually, there's a very nice pastime, Krishna playing his flute. Now some people, some people say, why does Krishna wear a peacock feather? So there's one pastime about this. You know, one day Krishna and Balaram, the cowherd boys, they were taking rest under the shady trees. And after some time, Krishna woke up, but everyone else was sleeping. So he decided to simultaneously wake up all the cowherd boys and call the cows by playing his transcendental flute. So suddenly, what happened is that fascinatingly beautiful sound of Krishna's flute, it captivated and enchanted the peacocks. And what happened is the peacocks, they began to dance to the flute song. They were dancing to the flute song, joyfully calling out, flapping their wings and dancing ecstatically. And after some time, what happened is the king of peacocks, there's a peacock king, he came over before Krishna, he bowed down, and he asked Krishna, Krishna, can you come and dance with us? So Krishna happily, he said yes, okay. He accepted the invitation, and soon Krishna was dancing with the peacocks, and he was playing his flute, and he started picking up the tune a bit, and they started dancing, increasing the speed of the dance. And because Krishna was there, the bliss of the peacocks also began increasing. And some of them became so overwhelmed that the peacocks were fainting. And meanwhile, the cows came, and all the forest animals from Vrindavan forest, they all came out. And there was this big circle all around Krishna and the peacocks dancing. Big circle of cows, and there was little deers, and there was little squirrels, and there was all these little forest animals and birds were sitting in the trees, and they're all watching Krishna dancing with these peacocks. And it said they were like transfixed, unable to move their eyes from the transcendental dance. They said they danced for a long, long time, but gradually what happened is the peacocks, they became tired. They became pooped out, and they stopped dancing. But Krishna, he just went on dancing for a few more days, playing his flute. That when he finally stopped, there was this enchanting silence. And then the king of the peacocks, he came up to Krishna and he said, in great humility, he bowed down to Krishna's lotus feet and he said, Krishna, you've created a festival of bliss for which we're just eternally indebted. We have to give you some dakshin. It's our duty to offer you a gift. So we request you to accept our only opulence. What's the only opulence of the peacocks is their beautiful feathers, their plumage. So, with tears in his eyes, this peacock, peacock king, he dropped some of these divine feathers. Then he picked some up. And he said to Krishna, Krishna, please wear these peacock feathers as a decoration on your crown. And Krishna just lovingly accepted their humble offering, picking them up, some of the feathers, and he placed them in his golden crown. So we see that, when we lovingly offer to Krishna the best we can, according to our capacity, whether it's a small offering or a large offering, Krishna immediately reciprocates with our offering, our service. And our hearts become full of devotion. We become fully satisfied. I'll just... I'll just finish that. Does anyone have any question? Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki.